Hello, everyone. Today we are blessed. We have Hollie Kitchens on with us, which, if you don't know Hollie, she is an author, uh, has a podcast, blog, um, which I listen to your podcast all the time. She has been voted one of the top 50 women of influence by Success Magazine. And I know I'm to attend the highlights because we could stay here all day saying about the things you've accomplished. But can you tell the people kind of how you got started in your
Yeah.
journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. So it's crazy because what I'm doing now kind of just happened through happenstance. I got into real estate back in 2010. 2009, late of 2009, I had a meeting with a broker called named Jay Kinder. And in early 2010, I got my license and was very fortunate to be part of his team. But my branding journey kind of started, it's kind of started in a unique way. So growing up, I always associated attention with negativity. So we grew up in a small town in Oklahoma, but I grew up actually in the low income part of it. So like we were the poor of the poor. And I remember in first grade, I wanted to get this little boy's attention. I had a little crush on him. So we're playing tag, and I'm thinking in my head, like, I'm going to tag him. He's going to ask me to marry him. Like, we're going to live this fairy tale happily ever after. And actually, though, whenever I tagged him, instead of him like getting on one knees, like I envisioned in my crazy little head back then, he was like, he looked me up and down and was like, Holly, why do you wear the same pair of jeans every day? Which I was mortified because the reality was I only
Mhm.
wore the same pair of jeans every day because that was legitimately the only pair I had, because we didn't have anything. So that day, I kind of noted in my brain like attention equals negativity. And it spilled into adulthood as well. When I became a part of Jay's team, I was thrilled because I got to hide behind Jay's face. Jay's face was on the billboards, Jay's face was
Mhm.
on the signs, the moving truck, the websites, everything. I just got my leads and I just converted them. So I played it safe. Don't get me wrong, the guys definitely in leadership there, they wanted us to still build our brand because obviously when we build our sphere, we're gonna bring more money, more business to the company. So I remember one time I was like, okay, I'm gonna put myself out there and I'm gonna do this virtual tour. I won't put my face on it, but I'm gonna do a virtual tour. So I checked out video cameras because this is back in like 2011 before like iPhones were the quality that they are today. And I did this video tour. I'm sure it was like the Blair Witch Project. There was no tripods of it like in hand. Like it was like probably shaky. It was probably awful. But anyways, it was a new construction property and I uploaded it on YouTube. Now, remember back in the day, YouTube, you couldn't promote, you couldn't run ads. It wasn't as easy as accessible as it is today. So I uploaded it. I'm like, okay, I'm hoping to get like 50 views. That would be a win for me. So I check it a week later and I about fell out of my chair because it had over 30,000 views.
Oh
And
my
I was
goodness.
like, "Oh my gosh." So instead of capitalizing on that and like reviewing the analytics and creating more viral content,
Mhm.
instead that little girl from first grade came and overtook me and made dictated that decision that day. Not only I deleted that video, but I deleted my entire YouTube channel. I
So
know it
it
was wild.
terrified you getting so much.
Yes. 100%, 'cause I'm like, "Who are these people? Why are they watching my stuff?" Like, I was so terrified of that, like, attention. So, I it's funny because, like, looking back, I'm like, "Man, people pay for that exposure now." And then here I was, like, creating, like, organic stuff. But anyways, so fast forward to 2017. I wanted to create an e-commerce store. Like I wanted to dabble in e-commerce. And I started an online boutique for concert goers because I always go to these concerts. I'm always having trouble like picking out outfits and finding them. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make this one-stop shop where girls can go, pick out their cute little rock and roll outfit, and then they go to their concert. And I did what any smart business owner would do. And I hired a coach to collapse time and see around corners, right?
Mhm.
So he asked me a question, and it was very simple but very profound. Obviously, as I'm talking about it today. And the question was, what are you doing different than Amazon or what are you doing different than Target? Both of them are major retailers, but they have, you can go there and get a Guns N' Roses shirt for like $12. Why would they come to your online only boutique and pay $36? They don't even know who you are. They don't know the quality of it. Like, why would someone come buy from you that's three times the amount? And that kinda, like, left me dumbfounded, like, I was like, I'm not often, like, speechless, but I was speechless then. And it really made me think too, because I have a marketing background, just being creative, in general, and I knew that I needed to build community. So
Okay.
that was the moment I decided I was going to launch a podcast to create community around my boutique. I would interview musicians because I always was like invited backstage, always at meet and greets. I'm like, why don't I just hit record? And that's content. So I started my podcast. I started interviewing people, anyone from like small local bands up to like Third Eye Blind, Sum 41, Bowling for Soup, things like that. So I started interviewing all these people and people started to take notice too. Like my friends were like, "Who's Holly?" And like, why does, some 41 want to talk to her? Or like, so it started creating interest. And then I started getting DMs from my friends and my colleagues and business associates, and they're like, "Who's doing this for you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just doing it myself. I'm a very resourceful person, just how I grew up. Like you find a way, right?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, I wanna know how to do that." So, it literally went from me hiding behind a logo to me, like, understanding, "Okay, now it's time for me to be a business owner, put my big girl pants on, show up for my clients and customers," to now I have a grateful opportunity to do the same thing for other real estate agents and entrepreneurs who are wanting to amplify their voice. So, that's kind of how I got started. I'm still in real estate. I don't actively sell, just, lead the downline, but, when it comes to how I got into branding, it's so funny story because like if you would have asked me this in first grade, I would be like, heck no, I'm never gonna be on like a video camera somewhere. And then here we are today. So it's been a journey, but it's been super fun.
And going from that shy person, like I've seen your stuff for years, but I would have never believed that you started out being shy like that because part of the honey badger stuff, I see you everywhere. I
Yeah.
see you, uh, the thing with Nick Cream you did.
Mhm.
Um, and that blows my mind that you start out so shy. And that is
It's
an amazing thing.
Thank you. It's a lot of like work in between here, right? Like it's a lot of mental. And I think to me, it was the determining factors like, okay, if you really want to be seen as a business owner, you've got to show up as a business owner. I could have still could have played it safe. I could have like, not done any of that stuff. But I would have said if I never put myself out there, there's no way I would be on my branding and online authority journey as I am today. I think, a lot of times we get caught up in our own head, and I
Hmm.
think that they lose focus on what's important. I think one thing because I still struggle with it. It's not like it just goes away and you're like, "Oh, okay, awesome, I'm fixed." There's still times where I'm, like, intimidated to get on a stage or, like, talk to people or things like that, but it's understanding too, though, it's like, what's the fear? What's the fear holding you back? For me, the fear was of just negative attention. Maybe it was trolls, whatever you wanna call it, but then it's understanding too, first off, that mindset is a very selfish mindset because I'm not thinking about my audience. I'm thinking about myself. I'm thinking, "Oh, what could happen wrong for me?" I'm not thinking about like, how can my message help somebody? How can maybe someone's going through the exact same tough time that I went through, and they need to hear my story and they need to understand, like, oh, wait, you know what? There is light at the end of the tunnel. There is a way to get out of this. So that was like one mindset shift that I had to make was understanding it's not about me, it's about them. Another one too, it's determining too, like, where's the feedback coming from? So, say you post this video on YouTube, and someone
Yeah.
puts in the comment like, "That Holly girl, man, she looks whack today. Did she just get out of bed?" I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that's, like, mean. It was something mean, right?
Yeah.
I If I read that comment, the old Holly would have been like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I know I shouldn't have ever went on a live. I know I shouldn't have done this." But now I have the mindset of, okay, is this person coming from a place of love or hate? And someone like that, they're definitely not coming from a place of love. So it's dismissing the feedback it's not really valid. Now, like, if I post something and don't get me wrong, I'm open to criticism. If I post something and say, I don't know, my best friend or my mom or somebody who has my back tells me like, "Hey, Holly, like, I don't think that that's your brand." I would listen to that feedback, right? Like, I would be open to feedback from people who actually care about me and wanna see me grow and be a better person. However, if it's some keyboard warrior that's possibly a 12-year-old, probably not gonna take their feedback into consideration because they don't have my best interest at heart, and they're just trying to do the opposite, right? So, I think having that distinction too and having that high level of awareness of the comments and where they come from, I think that this also helped me kind of put myself out there more too as well.
Well, that's really important to look at because so many people like me, I struggle getting on
Yeah.
these. I told you beforehand, I'm still not real comfortable doing a lot of them sometimes.
Yeah.
And doing the virtual tours, I despised the idea of doing them at first, but now I love doing them. And getting past that is a
Mhm.
real struggle for so many people. So, yes, I believe that you're helping more people than you will ever realize when you do share your story
Mhm.
and tell them how you did want attention. And now to go from that to being, like I said, one of the top 50 influencers, that
Yeah.
is amazing when you think of how far of a shift that's come and how much work that's took, like you
Mhm.
said, in between the years.
Yeah, absolutely. It didn't happen overnight. Like, I think it's definitely a muscle. So like a lot of times too, people have imposter syndrome. I feel like I haven't met anybody that's not suffered from imposter syndrome. So, when you're about to step on a stage or you're about to go on a podcast or you're about to talk and meet with a client, and then there's that little bitty voice in the back of your mind that's like, you're not good enough. Turn it away. Don't show up. I think that's the moment though we decide there's a decision, right? So it's like, okay, do we just play it safe and then, ghost or not show up or cancel? Or do we choose to be uncomfortable and start working on that confidence muscle? Because the moment we do the opposite of what that little voice is telling us is the moment we start building that confidence muscle up, right? Like my very first podcast was completely awful. I will be honest. Like it was at Vans Warp Tour and it was with an artist who actually has a podcasting network. So like he was a podcasting pro, is a podcasting pro. I had no idea what I was doing. I had my iPhone 7, which audio was not very good. Again, the hardware is not the best. I plugged in like this cheap mic that I got from Amazon because I wanted to look professional. And I'm like, okay, I just get this little lapel mic that was like $7 online, and this is gonna be it. I show up and we do the interview outside his tour bus. So imagine like the wind blowing and people talking. Fans keep stopping by and trying to talk to him while we're doing this interview. And I have my crinkled up list of paper because you got to think like I've been in the 110-degree heat all day and I'm just now interviewing this guy. So I have like this like crinkled up sweaty little like list of questions that I created for him. And I'm like,
Barely readable and probably they ain't smearing together by that point.
he was like looking at me like, what did I agree to do today? Like, what is going on here? And I'm like, he's like, do you think that this audio is going to pick up good? I'm like, yeah, it's good. I have a lapel mic. The audio was so awful. Like, I had to send it so many audio engineers to try to save it. It's, it's not, I'm saying all this to say, you've got to start somewhere. Like, you have to, like, just say, you know what? Today's the day I'm going to start doing it. Because I've not always been known as the podcast girl, right? Like back in 2017 with my crinkled up piece of paper, I had no idea like what it would lead me to do, right? But I knew I needed to create community. I knew I needed to stand out from Amazon and Target. I needed to create something that people could be a part of. And podcasting was part of that. Like that's why it's like one of my favorite ways and methods that people can brand themselves is because it's a unique way to show your personality, but then also to build authority and credibility.
Absolutely. And talking about the fear still,
Hmm.
I was reading the other day that public speaking ranks higher in fear than dying for a lot of people.
That's wild. But it's
Yes.
not surprising.
I know if I had to get on stage, I don't know if my legs would work, but
And it's funny too, because growing up, I also was like, I had a speech impediment. Like, it's so funny because I would be terrified to read out loud. Whenever a teacher's like, "It's your turn, Holly," I would be like, "I think I'm gonna get sick." I would run to the bathroom and like fake sick just so I wouldn't have to read out loud. Or like, in like speech class, whenever you're in high school, like public speaking,
Mhm.
they'd have you get up in front of the class. I remember I was like, like so scared. But it's again going back and understanding like where's the focus on because when I'm doing that, like I'm focusing on myself. I'm not focusing on the content that I'm gonna deliver. And again, it's just a muscle too. I remember my first stage I got on, I think it was like in 2014, 2015. And It was awesome. I gotta give credit, like, my, presence on a stage is definitely credited to Janet Usselton with, HSRA, which is Home Staging and Redesign Association, because she was like, "We're having this big event. I need a speaker. I want you on main stage." And I'm like, "You want me what? What am I gonna do?" But, like, putting me up there, like, it's just made me realize, and then I get up there, and I'm like, I look for familiar faces, and I just have a conversation with them when I'm speaking. So, it's, again, one of those muscles, like, you just have to build up. September, I spoke on one of the biggest stages, which is Traffic and Conversion Summit, which is, like, over 10,000 people in the audience that attended, and I'm not gonna lie, like, I was on a panel with women, and I was so terrified. I was like, "Oh my gosh," I remember when I was in the audience taking notes from people on stage. But
Yeah.
then, I'll be honest, my friend Deanna, she brought me a shot of tequila, and I was like, "You know what? I've got this." I pulled myself together, I rallied, and then we crushed it on stage.
Well, if it helps your feelings, I can never tell when you're nervous. You look
That's awesome.
completely at home on stage.
Thank
Uh,
you for that. And again, it's just that mindset. You just gotta understand, like, you have to get out of your own head and then focus on it. Because I mean, it's not for everybody, don't get me wrong. Not everyone wants to get on a stage, and nor should everyone get on a stage. If you guys are good with your role, whatever it is. But if you really want the role of being a leader and you want the role of being a business owner, people want to know who they do business with. People do business with people, not with logos, especially in real estate. Like, they want to know who they're doing business with. People are going to Google you, right? So, like, a few years ago, I went and got my hair cut at a style with a stylist I've never seen before, not social media friends or anything. Before I even
mhm.
got to her chair, she was already asking me about my podcast. So that told me she Googled me. So, like, if your hairstylist is Googling you before you sit in her chair, definitely these buyers, definitely these sellers are going to be Googling you as well. And that's part of, like, getting over that fear of being unknown. You have to put yourself out there and put content out that's going to distinct you from the next real estate agent. And you have to be super intentional, super purposeful. I always tell my clients, like, think of 3 to 5 keywords you want associated with your brand. And those 3 to 5 keywords better show up in almost all the content you publish. So anytime I'm speaking on a stage, anytime I'm writing an article, anytime I'm featured in media, I want to talk about branding. I want to talk about podcasting. I want to talk about content creation. I want to talk about women in business. I want, real estate, whatever the case may be. Those are some examples of mine. I want to talk about authority, right? Those examples of my keywords. If you guys Google my name, a lot of those keywords you'll see recurring. And that's intentional. It's not by accident. And I think once you start understanding and having that awareness of what kind of content am I publishing out there to be known as that expert. So when people look me up, I'm showing up as the expert that I say I am in my bio.
Yeah, absolutely. And before our meeting, I was on your website. So, yes,
Uh-huh.
every page you see a lot of the same keywords popping up.
Yep. Correct. And it's not on accident. I can definitely tell you that, Bobby. It's not on accident.
And let's see, where was the stage you were on in September?
It was called Traffic and Conversion Summit. So it's a large marketing summit or conference, if you will, in San
Okay,
Diego.
all right.
Yeah.
Now, you spoke also at the EXP event in
Mhm.
Orlando.
Yeah. Not Orlando, Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah. Last week in Vegas, I spoke at EXP Con.
Okay. So, what's next in the horizon for you? Have you got any
So
big plans coming up?
yeah, so it's crazy because I feel like this year was the year of brand awareness, getting on
Mhm.
stages, putting my message out there, being super intentional, having that level of, I guess, creating that brand awareness for people, knowing who Holly Kitchens is. Next year, I'm going to be I'm throwing it out there. I'm going to be crushing it on offers. I'm going to be helping people with podcasting, with content creation. My goal is to be known as the go-to person when it comes to building authority online. So it's creating all of those various methods, or not creating, but creating online presence for people who are looking to amplify their online presence through the methods such as podcasting, getting featured in media, social media strategies, so on and so forth. In this digital age, it's so important for people to stand out, and that's my goal, is to help as many people as I possibly can next year stand out online.
That's awesome. I figured you had something in the plans for next year already. Uh,
Absolutely. I actually, when I got back from Vegas, I was so amped and pumped. I was like, literally Saturday, all I did was like brain dump of all the things I wanted to do in 2023. So like that's always a good thing too, is like whenever you're on that high of like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, definitely make time to write it down and sort out those goals.
Yeah, because if you don't write it down, you'll end up going a different direction completely.
Correct.
I know exactly what you mean on that one.
Yeah, because if you don't write it down too, like you don't know what to say no to. And if
Yes,
an opportunity was to present itself and it doesn't align with any of those goals, and I say yes, that's going to take me farther away from it.
absolutely. Well, I do truly appreciate you taking the time today to be with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate it. Have a great day.
This
too.
is Honey Badger Nation,
where real estate agents from around the globe come together
to grow, collaborate,
and expand their business.
Where we take our individual fires and put them together and make one big fire.
This is the Honey Badger Nation.